This print-on-demand Etsy store makes passive income look easy with 4 smart ways that they have streamlined their Etsy store. Let's see how they did it. Hi, I'm Jess. I've built multiple 6- and 7-figure Etsy stores in various niches, getting sales like these, and learning the ins and outs of Etsy, Amazon, and more. A wild and crazy event led me to start a totally new life traveling abroad, giving me the unique opportunity to step back, work a lot less, and start sharing all of my Etsy insights with you. So hit that subscribe button, grab a pen and paper, and let's jump in. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for another fun video where hopefully you're going to learn a whole lot. I love this store because they have a very specific niche. You can already tell it's print on demand, which is awesome, but all their designs really fall into their one specific niche, which is these beautiful wildflower style, boho style artistic designs. And they don't have a lot of inventory compared to a lot of print-on-demand sellers or t-shirt stores. For example, they only have 361 listings. So it is a good number of listings, but it's not a huge amount. We will often see t-shirt stores with, 700, 800, 1,000 listings. And I love that this store seems to be consistently selling and consistently growing throughout the time that they've been open. So I really wanted to look at this store specifically because there are alarmingly simple ways that this seller has built up their store and streamlined and simplified everything to really make it as passive of an income as possible. So I love this. I love how passive it is because of these smart little things that they have done. So we're going to take a look at all of that. But first, let's take a look at her Etsy store stats and get those out of the way. So this seller has 18,978 sales, almost 19,000, which is awesome. That's a great number. The average price for these products is about $25. That's conservative. I feel like I say that in every video, and I'm sorry, I know that gets so boring hearing me repeat myself, but I do want to be conservative and realistic for y'all. So their first feedback here, if we sort this by most recent and go to the very last page, the first feedback comes on April 15th of 2020. And if we look, we can see that these are t-shirts, but the niche was not necessarily as well defined as it is now. They had a lot of like little wording statements and things like that. Whereas if we look at the store front, how it is, we see a lot of the same types of designs over and over that honestly are selling great. So it's working for them. Keeping all this in mind with a $25 average price point, 18, almost 19,000 sales, not even being open for 3 years. We're looking at about 2.5, a little more than 2.5 years of being open. Their approximate annual revenue is about $132,000 per year. And that may not seem super impressive when you're looking at t-shirt stores that can bring in, sometimes $1 million a year. I've had some videos in my print-on-demand playlist that have massive, massive sales compared to this store, but this store has streamlined everything. So it really is a passive income, whereas a lot of those higher selling shirt stores do rely more on personalized products to get such massive sales. So we're going to check this out because this is awesome. So let's look at this bestseller to get started with here. This is a beautiful wildflower print. The images are fantastic. A good variety of shirt colors here. It's the same basic kind of mock-up that we see a lot of times. Everybody loves these blondes in their mock-ups. It's a very boho vibe of mock-up with the jewelry on the wrists and little pendant necklaces and so forth. Very specific style, and it matches her niche of t-shirt designs or of product designs very, very well. So it is well done in showcasing a variety and matching her aesthetic overall. Now, looking at this, let's take a look. These are t-shirts. I do want to specify they're not sweatshirts, but it's 31 bucks, so way over that $25 that I told you before. It is free shipping in the US, so that's not bad. So it is just that flat $31.13 for this specific shirt. Now, we know that this seller is using a print-on-demand manufacturer because they have this little message right here that, by the way, you do legally have to have this if you're selling on Etsy and you're using a print-on-demand manufacturer. I think I did mention this in the last video, but it is important now that Etsy is really cracking down on print-on-demand sellers. This needs to be in here. You need to disclose that it is being made with help from a manufacturer. You do not have to specify who it is specifically. You can have it say a print shop, just like this. So that's very important. But that's also how we know that this particular store is print on demand. They are not making these themselves. They're doing the design and outsourcing the rest. So very, very streamlined for passive income. Let's take a look at what these profits would be. So in the product description here, it very clearly says it is a Bella Canvas unisex shirt. So if we jump over to Printify here and we take a peek at the Bella Canvas unisex jersey t-shirt, we can see a lot of different vendors here. One of their most popular vendors here with the fastest turnaround time is Monster Digital, and their cost here is $10.93. So if we look at the more specific details here, you can see that 2XL and 3XL are more expensive, but most of the sizes are $10.93, and that's without Printify Premium because I like to be conservative and give you guys the worst case scenario so you really know what to expect. And Printify Premium is awesome. It does make your profit margins higher, but you typically want to wait until you have 10 or 15 different orders a month to cover the cost of Printify Premium. And then once you hit that threshold and that seems steady, sign up for that and save yourself some money. Anyhow, for shipping costs, it is $4.75 for the first item. And then there is combined shipping. So if a customer orders more than one shirt, you're going to get even more profits here because the price here is $31.13 and free shipping. So that already assumes the full cost of the $4.75 for the shipping of the first item. So let's jump really quickly over to my workbook here. And I do sell this. This is my Etsy Seller Success Workbook 2.0. It has tons of different features for your sales growth and your profits, growth planner, all that good stuff if you're making good money on your Etsy ad returns, etc. The link to this is down in the video description. And I don't think I've said recently, but I do hide discount codes in these videos, so keep your eyes peeled for that. However, we're going to use my calculator really quickly here, and the full price before the sale here is $44.47. So I'm going to type this in, and she has it 30% off. I'm going to go ahead and type that in or select that. So that gives us that $31.13. She's got free shipping in there, and that puts the selling fees of about $3.40. Now it was 10 something, $10.93 for the product and $4.75 for the shipping right here. So that puts the final profit, if it is an offsite ad, and let's say worst case scenario that your store makes less than $10K a year and you're paying that full 15% for offsite ads. Okay, so worst case scenario, that's a 23% profit margin, $7.37 in profit for this one t-shirt. So every single order here that they're selling on this shirt is giving them over $7 in profits, which is awesome. That's great money. If it's not an offsite ad, however, and it sells any other way, we're looking at now a $12 profit, which is 38%. Y'all, that is big. That's a big profit margin for print-on-demand shirts. That's awesome. So let's be, again, super, super, super conservative. And let's say it sells as an offsite ad, 23% profit margin. And we said her calculation, let me go back to my notes here. The approximate annual revenue that this seller is pulling in is $132,000. So let's say here $132,000 times that 23% profit margin is $30,000 minimum, bare minimum, worst case scenario. Now, let's say, for example, we break that down monthly, that's $2,500 a month. Extra money, extra side hustle cash that this seller is bringing in. And probably because we know these estimates I do are super conservative, they're making a lot more than that, especially if they're rolling with this 38% profit margin. That changes that number dramatically. So at a 38% profit, we're talking $50K a year profit and $4,000 a month. So, I mean, it'd be kind of nice to have an extra $4,000 a month in the bank for a really streamlined passive income source, right? So let's see all the awesome ways that they have streamlined this to be as passive as humanly possible. So first of all, like I mentioned earlier, they do have really great images in this shop. I'm pointing that back out to you again because if we jump back to the main storefront here, we can see that same design popping up over and over. There's blankets, there's t-shirts, there's backpacks, there's sweatshirts, there's coffee mugs, all with these sort of wildflower designs. And if I narrow this down even more and just type in wildflowers, we can see this again and again. A tote bag, a tumbler, like it is popping up repeatedly. And we can also see that there's different colors here. So this is a long sleeve t-shirt in the dark gray. This is that dark gray short sleeve t-shirt we saw. Here's a sweater. This one is awesome because they also added the same little wildflower print to the sleeves and charged even more money, $55. That's awesome. It's utilizing a handful of designs for many separate products, which is really filling out that 361 listings without having to do so much work. So this is obviously at least a minimum of 8 listings just on this wildflower style design right here. So that's great. And that is something that I do talk about actually in my Etsy Seller Success Workbook package. There's a huge section with SEO strategies, and then there's a little bit more of sales psychology as well in there. And I do talk about this type of strategy where you're using one design to create multiple listings. And that's a great way to really build your inventory quickly. But I do want to mention that you want to make sure people want the design. So don't pay 20 cents to duplicate this 10 times when maybe it's not a design people are going to want. You want to make sure that it's something that starts selling first. And then as you see that that's a valuable product that people are willing to pay for it, then you can start expanding that design to other listings as well, whether that's other colors of shirts or other products or whatever that may be. Test it out with your audience first. Test it out with your buyers first and make sure that it's a good quality product. So another way that they are really streamlining and simplifying this store is if we go back to the listing here, they have a very streamlined description here. So this is a template that they use. And if we look at multiple listings here, we can see this one's for a mug actually. Here's a sweater. The same kind of formatting. And what they're able to do is really just change some of these details that make it specific. So this is specific to a sweatshirt and the Pressed Flowers collection design. This is their appeal statement portion of it that they change, but then this part is templated here. And for example, the coffee mug, very, very similarly done. Very templated design. So what this does is when they create new listings, it's much faster to list it because they only have to copy and paste this from their template and change a couple of things depending on what product they have, whether it's a shirt, a mug, a sweatshirt, whatever, and what design is on the product. So that is really smart in terms of making this much more streamlined and templated. Now, the third way that this seller is really streamlining this store is by having such similar products. So this is a really specific niche. And as we scroll through here, we can see there are some different designs, but they still fall into that same category. They're very wildflowery, they're very boho, very cottagecore style. That is really, really genius because it helps the Etsy algorithm work for you so much better. So again, if we look through her different listings here, we can see the same words popping up over and over in all of these listings. So we see pressed flowers, wildflowers, boho, cottagecore, vintage, botanical, floral, nature. Let's look at this listing here. Pressed flowers, boho, wildflowers, cottagecore, vintage, botanical, floral. Jumping over to another listing here. It continues that way. This one has a little bit more of variety with the word fairy core, things like that. There's a tiny bit of variation, but most of these keywords are the same. And what that's doing is that's making it super, super easy for the Etsy algorithm to classify this entire store. So when someone's looking for products and they're going on Etsy and typing in cottagecore, this store is going to pop up so much higher in the search results because literally every listing they have says cottagecore in it. Etsy's algorithm is like, oh, you want something cottagecore? This is a perfect match for you. And that really benefits them in terms of getting visibility. It also helps in terms of going back to that concept of being faster and easier to create listings. And part of my workbook does have a template, like a listing template where you can create a draft of your title, description, and all of that good stuff. But you can do this with a Google Docs. You can do this with any spreadsheet. Just create a field, a little column for your titles, your tags, your descriptions, etc., and save that information so you can reference it the next time you create a listing. And then the fourth way that this seller is streamlining their store is that they are outsourcing this to a vendor. So probably Printify or another print-on-demand manufacturer. We know that because we already saw it in the description of the listings. But what that means is if they're using a vendor like Printify, for example, that automatically connects to your store, then every time an order comes through in Etsy, it's automatically going to go over to Printify. The seller does not have to do any work. Then Printify is going to take that, it's going to print it on the right garment, send it down to the customer, update the Etsy dashboard with the correct tracking number for shipping, and everything is done automatically. You have zero extra work. And that is really, really valuable in terms of saving time. And time is money. So because this store has created these templated products that rely on zero personalization, every single product they sell can be set up automatically with Printify to make this a seamless process. The order will go through automatically and require zero extra work. So their time when working on this store can go directly towards answering customer questions and creating new products. And that makes it a lot easier to grow and scale this store. And in terms of a side hustle or a passive income, this is about as passive as it gets. And to see even more impressive sales, make sure you check out this t-shirt store that brings in over $1,000 a day. You can watch that one here.